Okay, so if you're in college, you know the research paper is like a huge deal. It's one of the biggest skills you've got to master. But what if we stopped thinking about it as a chore and started seeing it as a superpower? Seriously, it's the ability to go from just, reading information to actually building new arguments and adding your voice to this giant ongoing conversation of ideas. Right? Because so many of us get trapped in this mindset. We think, okay, I need a 10-page paper, I need 15 quotes, but honestly, that's missing the entire point. The real magic of a research paper is about finding your own voice, using evidence to back up a claim that is uniquely yours. It's what turns you from just a student into a real scholar. And that right there brings us to the first major piece of the puzzle. It's all about a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. So let's dive into what it actually means to go from being a passive consumer of information to an active contributor to knowledge. So here it is, the big idea. Research-based writing is not just a book report. It's not about summarizing what other people have said. It's the act of building your argument, but an argument that stands on a solid foundation of credible, solid evidence. This whole process is what transforms you from someone who just reads stuff into a writer who adds their own informed voice to the conversation. And believe me, this quest really, really matters. It's not just about getting a good grade. These skills are a domino effect. You learn to question things, to connect ideas. That's critical thinking. You get better at explaining complex stuff clearly. Boom, that's communication. And when you do that, you're tapping into the very engine of how we make progress in, well, every field. And of course, it builds your credibility because it shows you've done the work. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? I know, it can feel totally overwhelming, but the good news is there's a map for this journey. We're about to walk through a clear 6-step quest that you can pretty much follow for any research project you tackle. And here it is. This is the map that makes a huge, scary project feel totally doable. Now look, it's not always a perfect straight line. Sometimes you have to double back, but the flow makes sense. It all starts with a genuine question. From there, you find and, really importantly, evaluate your sources. Then you dig in, you analyze them, you look for patterns, and out of those patterns, your core argument, your thesis, is born. Then you weave in your evidence to support it, and finally, you cite everything properly. It's a clear path from just being curious to having a finished, credible argument. All right, let's zoom in on two of the most critical parts of that map. First, finding the treasure, and that's your sources. And second, learning to speak the language of the academic world, which is all about citations. These are your essential tools for the whole quest. This is a huge one. We all love Google, right? It's our go-to for everything. But for serious academic work, it's just the starting line. So much of the most credible, peer-reviewed research, the real good stuff, lives inside specialized databases that a regular Google search just can't get to. To find the best evidence, you have to go beyond the open web and into your university's digital library. And these are the treasure chests I'm talking about. Your college library pays a lot of money so you can have access to these incredible tools. You've got things like EBSCOhost for general topics, JSTOR for deep dives into history and literature, and stuff like ScienceDirect for the STEM fields. Think of these as your VIP, high-quality search engines for academic work. Even Google Scholar is fantastic for finding papers. Seriously, these are your new best friends. Okay, so once you've found your sources, you have to use them responsibly. And I know citations can feel like a total headache, just a bunch of formatting rules. But they're so much more than that. They're basically the language scholars use to show respect, to give credit where it's due, and to build trust. It's how you show your reader, hey, my work is grounded in the conversation that's already happening, and it lets them trace your steps. Now, for most of you, you're going to run into two main styles, MLA and APA. The difference between them really just comes down to what each field thinks is most important. MLA, which you'll see in the humanities, focuses on the author and the specific page number, because you're often analyzing a very particular sentence or passage. APA, on the other hand, which is big in the social sciences, highlights the author and the date, because knowing how recent the research is can be absolutely critical in those fields. All right, so you've found your treasure, your sources, and you know how to cite them. Now we get to the most important part. Actually using all that research to build something that is new and uniquely yours. This is where you really start to create. You know, the biggest mistake people make is just dropping quotes into their paper without any context. They call it a quote sandwich, and you don't want to do that. Instead, your job is to be a guide for your reader. Summarize the big ideas to set the stage, paraphrase complicated points to show that you actually get it, and only use a direct quote when the author's wording is just so perfect you couldn't possibly say it better. And here's the golden rule. Always explain why that piece of evidence matters. How does it prove your point? And this is really where the magic happens. A great research paper isn't just a collection of other people's ideas. It's a conversation that you are hosting. Your argument, your thesis, is the main thread that weaves everything together. You might agree with some sources, challenge others, and connect them in ways no one has before. Your unique perspective is the glue that holds the entire thing together. So, as we start to wrap this up, let's just reframe what a final paper really is. It's not just an assignment, it's not just about a grade. It is your official ticket to join a massive ongoing discussion that in some cases has been going on for centuries. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? Every single time you sit down and write a well-researched paper, you are actually participating in the growth of human knowledge. Your paper, your single idea, that one argument you supported so carefully, it becomes a small but very real part of that massive collective project. So the next time your professor hands you a research assignment, try not to see it as just a pile of work. See it as an opportunity. It's a chance to explore something you're genuinely curious about and to add your voice to the mix. So the only real question left is, what conversation are you going to join?